or whatever. Hey, everybody. How the F do you know how much insurance to get and what kinds? Ooh. Good news. I'm Lindsay Benton here with Live.Laugh.Let Real Estate Group, and I've got Brendon Ericson with the Brendon Ericson Allstate Agency here to answer some questions. Is it so simple that you just say, hey, what insurance do I need? And then you go, oh, here it is.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes down to what do they own in assets, right? It's a question that's largely not asked. People want to pay the lowest amount possible, but no one really takes the time to learn about the person and say, hey, actually, what do you own? What are you responsible for? Because ultimately that is the biggest question, right?
Yeah. All right. So let's start from the beginning. Sure. I'm a renter. I actually, as an investment owner, require renter's insurance. What does renter's insurance cover and how much does it cost?
Sure. So renter's insurance as a whole, obviously a very smart decision as a investment owner, right? If you have other people on your property, requiring them to have coverage that only covers their personal property themselves and then their liability. So if someone were to get hurt there, there would be some coverage for that. It also covers a renter while they are have contents in storage or if they're moving. So it's good to have just in general, if they're moving up the ladder to go from a renter's apartment complex to say like a condo, townhome, or even a house. So yeah, liability protection and personal property.
And how much a month is that?
You know what? Renters are crazy cheap. So most of the time it's like $10 a month. A lot of times our policy started about 15 to 20,000 in coverage. That's everything from your socks to your electronics to your TVs and furniture. So that's the easiest way to calculate that guy.
And what about if my computer's stolen from my car?
Yeah, so if a lot of people are under the misconception that, oh, I've got an auto policy, so a computer was stolen out of my car, so my auto policy will pay for that. It's actually not covered unless you have a property policy, which is the renter's policy itself. So yes, you have a renter's policy that does cover your personal contents. That's stolen out of your car, then it would be covered. It also covers fires, thefts, floods, things like that. So
all shenanigans.
All shenanigans, yep.
Unless friend caused shenanigans.
I mean, there could be a case where it's still covered.
Okay. Honestly, I've never met anyone who knows the depth of insurance that you do. And we played through some pretty fun scenarios together. So let's keep it straight this time, right? So now, okay, I've rented for a long time. I've been working with you on my renter's policy. You have my auto policy. And I decide I want to buy a house. What are the first kind of questions you're going to ask me?
A lot of times we try to figure out, is it a condo, a townhome, or a single family home, right? So we got to know, are you responsible for the entire unit itself, or maybe just a walls in scenario, right? You own a condo or a townhome, you may have an HOA that's responsible for the roof, for the exterior. That's a completely different policy. We see those run like $300 a year typically. Right. A homeowner's policy, they say the average in Colorado is about $2,600 because you're responsible for everything. So it's good to know at that point, which direction do we need to head based off of the location of the property. And then from there, again, back to the assets, the rebuild cost, and so on and so forth.
Totally. I think one of the things I try and empower buyers with is the knowledge that if you are buying a condo that has an HOA, but you only need a walls in policy, your HOA is paying for that walls out piece of it. So it's as custom as that payment, right? Yeah,
absolutely. The biggest thing, though, that we educate our customers with, though, on a walls in policy, a condo policy, would be loss assessments. We recently had a lady where they replaced all of the boiler units at a high-rise condo unit, and it was $48,000 assessed per individual. Her current insurance was not that much, and so she had to pay it out of pocket. In fact, she had to go and get a HELOC to be able to pay for it. So talk about, just a devastating loss just to everyone there. So we really make sure that if you are in a condo's walls in, that you have at least $50,000 in loss assessment coverage. We also look at, $100 per square foot for a rebuild cost for that walls in is really the recommendation right now.
Okay, awesome. And then I actually own my condo. I'm going to turn it into a rental, and I'm going to go buy a single family home. So then what are we going to talk about?
Yep. So we're transitioning basically from your condo policy, which is now going to be a rental policy, to a homeowner's policy. Twofold here. We want to make sure that we have enough rebuild coverage. After the wildfires, you guys saw the news, 90% of homeowners, sadly, were underinsured in a lot of those cases. Our company is one of those that does keep up with the cost of dwelling coverage. So as your dwelling continues to increase, whether that's lumber, labor, or overall price, we actually reflect your coverage to be in that range so that it is adequate. Now, you also have somebody living in your condo. So, again, we rent that out. We make that a condo rental policy, basically. But it's super, super important. Probably the most important policy that we sell that is the most amount of coverage for the cheapest price is an umbrella policy. And that is $1 million all the way up to $5 million in excess liability in case you get a wrongful eviction, if you have a dog bite, if you have, you name it, somebody injured on that property. It is still your property. You are responsible for it. So we want to make sure that you have enough protection there to cover your personal assets, because again, if somebody comes after you, they're going to find out what your net worth is, how much is in your 401k, your pension, the equity in your home. They may even garnish your wages if you don't have enough coverage. So super, super important there.
I think, my rule of thumb, I've always worked with an insurance agent that I trust, and you're one of those, absolutely. And it's to say, what would you do if it was yours? That's what I ask insurance providers. I feel like insurance is just this very necessary thing, right? So I don't know, what do I have, like 12 lines of insurance or something, right?
Sure.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But ultimately, as a real estate investor, I have to be protecting myself. And I also want to ensure that my tenants are protecting themselves. And then, even the agents here, making sure they're protecting themselves from a business standpoint. So one more question for you, and I'll let you get back to what you do. But talk about business insurance in real estate and otherwise. Let's talk about that piece.
Yeah, so we were one of the top commercial producers for Allstate in Colorado last 2 years in a row, which was awesome. That's a great achievement that we have. There's only 3 of us in the entire state last year that achieved that. So one of the things that we focus on is, do you own your own business? That could be a sole proprietor, right? That could be all these solopreneurs that came out of COVID, right? And that are selling Etsy shops and doing t-shirts and that kind of stuff. If you have an LLC, a corporation, you name it, there are some tax advantages. Consult your CPA on what you can and can't do for, say, writing your car off, right? Or having a home-based business, and what does that look like? So we actually ask every single one of our clients, do you have some sort of company? Do you write your car underneath your company? Is your home-based business out of your home office there? Like I said, there's tax advantages there, but your current auto and home policy may not extend to that business if there were a claim. So again, we've had people, content stolen out of a car, and it was all jewelry making stuff. On a personal policy, none of it was covered, right?
Totally.
And the lady was like, I had gold and silver, and it was $50,000 worth of precious metals because we make jewelry. None of it was covered because it was underneath a personal auto policy. So again, we make sure to ask every single person, hey, is this for a business? If so, we want to write you either a commercial auto policy, a business owner's policy, general liability coverage, that kind of stuff. To make sure that you're properly protected and that your business is properly protected.
It's so tricky. It's so tricky. So I think that the biggest thing I encourage clients to stay away from is, whatever you do not go online and get your insurance, right? Go online to set an appointment to talk to a real human about what insurance you actually need. And the more assets you have, absolutely, the more complicated it gets. But I think even starting from the rental standpoint, even if you don't have a car, you need to protect your personal assets. I mean, we have computers, you may be running, your whole life is in there, right? So how do we protect from that? So
think about if your computer was stolen and it has all your customer data, right?
Okay. I have enough anxiety. Okay. And we don't keep our client data in our computers, but thank you. That's a good point.
Yes.
No, absolutely. It's always good to talk to you. I appreciate how much you do for us at Live Laugh Denver and for what you do for our clients. So thank you so much. We are going to do this again because I have more questions for you and I have another call. So let's talk soon. And as always, look, I did it.
Hey, I love it.
I use it every day, literally.
Nice.
Be insured. Brendon Ericson.
Insured. That's
right
me.
Here. All right. High five. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.